Yes.
Ma'am, 282 Ashmita is present.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
But I just told you. So after the class, remind, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
We are discussing about the consumer behavior and producer behavior. If you have any query on that, you can ask. I'm just drawing, then I will ask a question. If you have any query, ask. And then after, I will ask some question. Is there any query? Acha. Let me draw. Huh? This is the demand curve. This is the supply curve. And this is the equilibrium. So the equilibrium price, P. Equilibrium point is E. Say A is the demand curve and B is the supply curve. Okay. So now tell me, what is the area of consumer surplus? What is the area of consumer surplus?
Ma'am, APE.
APE. Okay. So this is this is consumer surplus. Okay. And what is producer surplus?
BPE.
BPE. Yes, so this is producer surplus. Okay. So this total area is producer surplus. So how to remember what is consumer surplus and what is producer surplus? Very easy. The area below the demand curve above the price. The area below demand curve above equilibrium price. This is consumer surplus. Area below the price above the supply curve is producer surplus. Okay. The area below the price above the supply curve, this is producer surplus. Okay. So this is consumer surplus and this is producer surplus. Done. Okay. So we know the basic thing. Now, based on this concept, we are going to find out if there is any such intervention like price flooring, price ceiling, or tax, how consumer surplus and producer surplus, these are affected. Obviously, it will be affected, but how much? To what extent? That we are going to discuss here. My voice is clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Now look, the sum total of consumer surplus and producer surplus is called the social welfare. Because this is the, look, what is the consumer surplus? Consumer surplus means after paying the price of the commodity, the money which consumer has, right? So this is the benefit. We can say from the consumer's point of view, this is the benefit of the consumer from the price mechanism, from the market. Similarly, producer surplus is the extra money which producer is receiving after selling his commodity. So producer surplus is also the benefit of the producer through this price mechanism, right? So this is why the sum total of consumer surplus and producer surplus is called social welfare. Okay, this is the social welfare in the market system. After selling or purchasing the commodity, this is the total social welfare in the market system. Now we are going to check if there is any intervention, then how this social welfare will be affected. Okay, how much it will be affected, that we are going to check here. Look at the first diagram. And this is the minimum price, that is price flooring, right? Now we know to have the effective price flooring, equilibrium, the minimum price or the floor price that should be above the equilibrium price. So we know that if we need any effective price flooring, then that floor price should be above the equilibrium price. And in this diagram, we have it. Look, the minimum price is above the equilibrium price P naught. So we are sure that, okay, this is effective. This is effective price flooring. Okay, so it is there. It is active. It is active. It can influence the market. Now, if minimum price is here, now we have to compare how the consumer surplus is affected and how producer surplus is affected because of this minimum price policy. Look, before any such intervention, the equilibrium price was P naught. Now, given that P naught, okay, let me use the pointer. If the equilibrium price is P naught, then the total consumer surplus was this area. Look at my pointer. That was the consumer surplus initially. Okay, that was the consumer surplus, whatever be the triangle, the area above the P naught and the area below the demand curve. Okay, so this is the area which is called the consumer surplus before intervention. And what about the producer surplus? The producer surplus is below the price P naught and above the supply curve. So this total triangle is very clear in this diagram. So that was the producer surplus before the intervention. Is that clear to you? Up to this point, any doubt? Up to this point, is there any query? Anyone?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now look, the minimum price is there. So now the producer and consumer both have to obey P min. They cannot go with P naught. P naught is not valid now. Okay. Everyone has to follow P min. So to the consumer, price is increased. Initially the price was P naught. Now the price is P min. Right? So now for the consumer, the price is P min. What is the area of consumer surplus? Look, this is the consumer surplus. After the minimum price, the consumer surplus is this area. Look, right? Any problem with that? Is it okay? This is the new consumer surplus of the consumer, definitely. So, any problem with that consumer surplus?
No, ma'am.
Acha. Initially, the consumer surplus was the area above P naught. Now, the consumer surplus is the area above P min. So, we can understand, if we compare these two areas, we can understand now the consumer surplus is lesser than before. Right? So, consumers are the loser. We can say consumers are sacrificing their surplus. So the question is how much surplus they are sacrificing. This is called as change of consumer surplus. Okay, del CS, change of consumer surplus. So what is the amount of consumer surplus which the consumers are sacrificing because of this minimum price policy? Look. Initially, okay, tell me, I'm waiting for your answer. Initially, the consumer surplus was above P naught. Now, the consumer surplus is above P min. So, what is the net sacrifice of the consumer? What is the area? The areas are denoted here. A, B, C, D, these things are there.
A plus B.
So A is the loss, B is also the loss. This total area, look. This total area, this is given by the consumer. This is the sacrifice of the consumer because of the minimum price policy. So we can say as it is sacrifice, so it's better to write minus A. Okay, this is the loss. A minus means loss and minus B. Okay, So these areas are given by the consumer. Now, what about the producer? Cha, very sorry. Let me write it. Change of consumer surplus is minus A minus B. Okay. Now, what about the producer? Initially, producers are receiving P naught. Now, the producers can charge P min. Okay. So, what is the area? What is the producer surplus? Initially, the producer surplus was below the price, like this. And now the producer surplus is below P min. So, with respect to the price, producers are gaining, right? Because now producers are receiving higher price than before. So there is a gain. But at the same time, they are selling lesser quantity than before. They sold, said they were selling Q naught initially, but now they are selling Q3. So both effects are working on the producer. Price is rising, obviously good, but the quantity sold is falling. This is bad. So both are reflected in their producer surplus. So can you tell me what is the change of producer surplus here?
Ma'am, previous producer surplus plus A plus B.
No, no. I'm agreed with you. A is there, but what about B? I have a doubt with B. A is the gain of the producer. Okay, that is true. But what about B? Anyone else? A is the gain of the producer. Anything you want to add with that?
Ma'am, B is the deadweight loss.
No, I don't know what is deadweight loss. But before that, look, initially producers are selling Q naught. Now they are selling Q3. So if you compare Q naught and Q3, you can find some changes of producer surplus. Can you tell me this area? Whether it is gain or loss? Just forget about Q mean now. Because Q mean is over. He said it is the gain A. So I agreed with it. But with respect to quantity, initially they could sell Q naught, now they are selling Q3. So it is the change of producer.
Ma'am, plus A minus B minus C.
That minus B is also there. Look, initially the producer surplus was very stronger. Okay. Initially that was the producer surplus. And now producer surplus is, look, it is like this, then this, then this. Okay. So now the producer surplus is only this because you cannot sell Q naught. You have to remember that now I cannot sell Q naught. I have to stop at Q3. So that B and look, C, regarding C, this is the loss actually. C is the loss. Initially C was in the producer surplus. But now C is not in the producer surplus. Okay. B is not an issue for the producer because it was not in the producer surplus. It is not in the producer surplus. So B is not the concern of the producer. But C, that was in the producer surplus. But now C is not in the producer surplus. You get the thing? B is also not the concern of the producer. Only C. Is it clear? If you have any doubt, please ask.
Ma'am, why is that?
Look, okay. दाঁড়াও, wait করো. What was the producer surplus? When the price was P naught, this is the producer surplus. Is it okay to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now what is producer surplus? Price is P min and the quantity sold is Q3. So the area below the equilibrium price and above the supply curve corresponding to the quantity, na? This is
Yes,
the
ma'am. Okay, I got it.
this is the producer surplus now. So if you compare the recent producer surplus with the initial producer surplus, you can understand A is the gain and C is the loss. C was in producer surplus, but C is not in producer surplus. So C is the sacrifice of producer. In exchange of that, he is gaining A. Okay, so producer is getting at least some benefit. Consumer is the net loser, but producer is getting at least some benefit, that A. A plus A is there, but no plus is there in case of consumer surplus. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
And any other student, if you have any query? Acha. So we can see the change of consumer surplus and the change of producer surplus. Now our concern is, what is the social welfare loss? What is the, because of these changes, what will be the change of social welfare? Consumer surplus has changed, producer surplus has changed. So because of these changes, how social welfare is affected? Okay, so to do that, we have to see, where is my pen? This is the change of social welfare. Change of social welfare. You can write it SW, you can write it LW, whatever you want. So it is the change of social welfare. All other things are as before, so we are not going to incorporate all those. It is only the change. So change of welfare is what? Change of consumer surplus plus change of producer surplus. Simple. Because this sum total is the welfare, na? So if you incorporate the changes of these two factors, then the welfare change will come out. So just write, what is the change of consumer surplus? Minus A and minus B. Okay. Regarding producer surplus, it is plus A minus C. I've just written the values here. So look, minus A plus A. So it will be cancelled out like this. Okay. So what left? Change of welfare, look, minus B minus C. Is it clear? That minus plus this portion is clear, na?
Yes, ma'am, clear.
Acha. So look what happened. The change of welfare. Minus B minus, so you can understand it is the net loss from the society's point of view. If you consider the society as a whole, where consumer and producers are the member, so in this society, it is a net loss. So this is what I said repeatedly when I was discussing about the intervention, that any intervention is bad for the society. Any intervention is bad for the welfare of the economy. Look, welfare is facing the net loss. Okay, that B is coming from the consumer's pocket, C is coming from the producer's pocket. So B is actually the loss of the consumer, because consumers are getting, look, what is happening with the consumer? Consumers are paying higher price than before. So they have to reduce their demand. Because of this reduction in demand, B is coming from the consumer. Similarly, as demand is rising, as demand is falling, so producers has to sell lesser than before. That is why C is coming from the producer's pocket. Okay, so ultimately what happened, as you are not allowing the price mechanism to work freely, as the government is intervening through this instrument, that there will be a net social welfare loss. Hmm. And as this is the loss, these two are called the dead weight loss. Okay, these are called the dead weight loss. These are called dead. This is I, yeah. WEIGHT. Dead weight loss. Okay, so that B and C, this is called dead weight loss. Okay, so this is the ultimate impact of minimum price or price flooring on the society. Hmm. If there is any intervention like price flooring, the economy is sacrificing because of it. Okay, and the amount of sacrifice is B and C. So B is given by the consumer, but no one is receiving B. Similarly, C is given by the producer, and no one is receiving C. That is why B and C, these are given either by consumer or by producer. As this is not received by anyone, so this is the loss. Okay, so this is why B and C, that sum total, is called the deadweight loss. Any query from this?
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, so what about the basic difference between the social welfare and the dead weight loss part?
No, this is the change of welfare. Deadweight loss is the change of social welfare. Social welfare is consumer surplus plus producer surplus. And deadweight loss is the change of consumer surplus and change of producer surplus.
Okay, ma'am, understood.
Any other query?
Ma'am, when we talk about MSP, is it effective price ceiling, price flooring?
Yes, yes.
So, ma'am, aren't the farmers suffering in that case?
Hmm.
So,
Consumers
ma'am,
are
why do
also
we still have it? So, yes, ma'am. So, why do we still have it in our system?
look. If you think with respect to the social welfare's side, then you should suggest that no intervention is required. Okay, but if you look from the producer's government point of view, if government is thinking that P naught is very low for the producer and he is trying to give support to the producer in terms of price, he is doing this. The government is not thinking with respect to this social welfare laws, deadweight laws, and all this. He is just helping the producer by increasing the price. But because of that, the producers are getting the loss. The social welfare loss is, look, very natural. You don't go to this, just forget about that. Look, from the producer's point of view, from the seller's point of view, it is quite natural that if you increase the price, your sale will fall. Yeah, in the equilibrium, in the market, sorry, not in the equilibrium, in the market, if price is rising, demand will fall. And if demand will fall, you cannot supply as before. You have to reduce your supply. So it is quite natural. But here the objective of the government is to increase the price for the producer. The government is not concerned about the quantity, the reduction of quantity sold. He is just giving his the price. But because of this support, there will be a loss for the consumer and for the producer. Okay. Look, this is
Okay, ma'am.
popular policy,
Ma'am,
you
can
can
we
say.
introduce? Uh, um, Ma'am, I also had this one doubt. Can we use the concept of elasticity in this case?
Yes,
How
yes.
will it,
Oh
how
my
will
God.
it differ?
Look, if it is very inelastic, huh? If the supply curve is, say, okay, you can explain it in terms of demand better. Look, if the demand is very much inelastic, like this, inelastic demand, fine, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Look at the area of C now, lesser, no? Your A is as before. I just keep A as before. But look at the area of C now. It's very lesser than before. Look, this is the only C. Hmm? So here, the gain of the producer is more than the loss. So this is how you can give support to the producer. But the government knows that, okay, producer will get the loss. But here the loss is less than the gain. A is greater than C. So ultimately producer will gain. But from the society's point of view, it's a loss, but C is still there. So net welfare loss is there. A and B is the net deadweight loss. This is there. This will be there. But as you are only concerned about the producer and as the demand is relatively inelastic, producer will gain because A is greater than C. If A is 30, then C is say 5. So ultimately producer will gain. Do you get the point?
Yes, ma'am.
And
Thank you,
here
ma'am, for
the
this.
objective of the government is to give the support only to the producer. He is concerned only to the producer. And this is why he is successful with his policy. But well, obviously, if there is any intervention, the welfare will be lesser than before. The deadweight loss will always be there. Hmm? And basically this price support is given to the agricultural sector. The farmers are getting this price support, and farmers are selling agricultural product, basically our staple foods, right? So in that case our demand is inelastic. For food item our demand is inelastic. So farmers will, or the producer, the seller, they will get their benefit. They will get the net benefit. But obviously economy as a whole will suffer. Hmm.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Any other query? And again, I'm just as she was asking the question, I was also thinking in this way. So I just want to give you another idea. The price support is also for the unorganized laborer, right? The minimum wage. That minimum wage program is there basically for the unskilled, unorganized worker in the India also. The minimum wage is fixed. So in that case, for the unorganized worker, basically like the labor abundant country like India, the supply is perfectly elastic, right? Or very close to be perfectly elastic. I was talking about the inelastic demand, but if supply is also very elastic, so if I draw the supply curve like this, if I draw supply curve like this, very, very flat, close to be perfectly elastic, look at the area of C. Here also the C is very less. Okay, the insignificant C is there. So the supply side will get the net benefit because of this thing. Can you give me 5 minutes? Just look at the picture, think of it. Huh? I'm coming back by 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes, please. Just wait. Look, wait. I will show you. Is it okay? Is there any doubt?
Ma'am, in the case of unorganized labor, is the demand curve inelastic?
Demand curve is perfect, almost perfectly elastic.
So is the supply curve.
Demand curve, no. In case of unorganized, yes. Yes, in case of unorganized sector, the demand is uh, elastic, right? Demand is elastic, and the supply also. So B is also very small in that case. This is very interesting about the economy. Right? So you can draw different diagrams in your copy and think of it about the B and C. How can you reduce? B and C is the loss, A is the gain. So more A, better. Less B and C, better. So how can you do that? To change the elasticities of demand and supply, combine them, and then think of it. Hmm? And I have given you two. One is suggested by your friend that if demand is inelastic, and I'm giving you another idea if supply is elastic. In both the cases, you can reduce that C. Why we are interested about the reduction of C? Because it is for the producer, it is for the supply side. Hmm. Suppliers are in the plus minus position. A is the plus and C is the minus. So somehow if you can reduce C, then it will be better. And how to do that? Right. This is the interesting part of economics. The trial and error. Just do this thing and that thing, combine and try. Okay. So any query from this diagram? Is there any query from the diagram? Is there any query and diagram and doubt with this diagram? Is there any query?
No, ma'am. You can proceed, I guess.
Acha. So I'm going as no answer is coming out, so I'm going to the next one. Whatever. It's very vague. Okay, this is the price support. Let me try to discuss it. This is the price support program. Hmm. Price support program is another type of price flooring program. Okay, another type of price flooring program. Again, the price support you can understand. The government will artificially increase the price. By law, government will increase the price to support the producer, obviously. But here, some additional thing is happening. If you look at the agricultural sector, when the price support is introduced by the government, that since initially the price was P naught, now the government is saying no, the P naught is very low price. It's better to ask PS. PS should be the market price. Okay, so it is artificially done. It is by force. It is done. Now, as it is not market share, that we see these problems are producers quantity sold is reduced. So these problems are there in the market. So given all those problems, now the government announcing some additional information. What is that? Government is saying, okay, given that demand curve and supply curve, if the market has price PS. Look, there is some excess supply. Look at the pointer. This is the amount of excess supply. This is the amount of excess supply.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, sorry to interrupt. Uh, ma'am, your voice is sometimes becoming very faint.
Again, the
Yes, ma'am.
দাঁড়াও better. Is it
Yes,
better
ma'am.
now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
তাহলে এরকম ভাবেই পড়ি so when the government is saying that okay, P naught is very low price, it should be PS. Now in the market, given the demand supply curves, at the price PS there is some excess supply. Look, this is the amount of excess supply at the price PS, है ना? This is the amount of excess supply at the price PS. Do you agree with it?
Yes, ma'am.
So this excess supply is there, and that is why price mechanism is trying to reduce the price to P naught, but government is saying no, you cannot do that. This is how we are getting the effective price floating, right? So anyway, as there is this much of excess supply, now government is saying that okay, fine, I am going to purchase that excess supply part. Okay, the government will procure that amount of excess supply in the market. So now government is also the consumer in this market. It is a part of the demand in this market. So as government is coming to purchase the commodity, government is coming to get the commodity, then the demand curve will shift. It's just like an increase in number of consumer, right? In the market, there is an increase in number of consumers. So the demand curve will shift upward. So the new demand curve will be this one, this dotted one. And what is the value of this new demand curve? The initial demand plus QS. QS is the excess supply. So whatever be the excess supply in the market at the price PS, it will be purchased by the government at PS price. And in reality, in Indian agricultural sector, government is doing this. Directly from the farmer, in the field, government is purchasing the food grains. Is that okay? So this is the price support by the government to the agricultural sector especially. Any problem with that? Then I will discuss the diagram. That welfare portion is not discussed yet, but the program is clear to you or not?
Ma'am, this shift of demand curve, can you please repeat?
Yes. Look, initially only individual demand curve is there, so D. So this is the total market demand. Na? So initially say there are 20 individuals. So D is the sum total of those 20 individuals demand curve. Now government is also the part of the demand side and they are demanding QS. So like number of consumer is increased in the market. So that is why the demand curve has shifted upward parallelly. Is the horizontal summation. Say initially there were 20 individuals. Now there are 21 individuals and the last one is the government who is demanding QS. So that is why the demand curve has shifted to that dotted one and the sum total is D plus QS. Now tell me, any doubt?
Yes, I'm clear.
So this is the new demand curve and the supply curve is as before. So now look, that problem of excess supply is over. So it is the market, it is the equilibrium price, the new equilibrium. Okay. Given the government intervention, given the government procurement, this is the new equilibrium. So PS is the new equilibrium price. Okay, done. So, okay, apparently it's very good. But what about the welfare? What about the welfare? Can you tell me what is the amount of government expenditure here? What will be the government expenditure? Because government is coming to procure, na? Government is trying to purchase. So what will be the total expenditure for this purchase? Can you tell me?
Ma'am, D is a part of that.
D is obviously. Anything else?
ম্যাম নিচে কি কি লেখা আছে একটু বলবেন? কিউ নট আর কিউ টু আর
Q0, Q3, just a minute. দাঁড়াও. Wait. Q0, Q1, Q2. Q0, Q1, Q2.
Ma'am, is it PS into QS?
PS into QS. Where is QS? Okay, this one. So what is the area?
No, ma'am. Sorry, sir.
Ma'am, B plus D.
B plus D. No, no.
ম্যাম কিউ টু মাইনাস কিউ নট প্লাস ডি।
Q2 minus Q0 plus D. No. Think of it.
Ma'am, P nor minus P PS minus P nor into Q2 minus Q nor. Ma'am, that is Q2.
No.
Ma'am, there is a portion without any name, the side of D dotted but not name. That portion plus D.
No. Okay. Let me discuss it. Let me discuss it. Look, this is the total quantity. Okay. And to purchase, because government is going to purchase only this much. And the price is for that quantity. And the price is PS. Okay. So this is the quantity and this is the price. So look at the area. That dotted area. Look. Okay. Let me use the pen. PS into Q2 minus Q1. Anyone told this? PS
Ma'am,
in...
I told.
Yes.
Ma'am, I told it that PS into QS, sir. Ma'am,
QS
Q2.
means only this.
Mm,
Okay. PS into Q, I don't know, maybe Q2. So Q2 minus Q1, okay? PS into Q2, this is the government expenditure. That means government is giving this much. Now, we are going to check again that consumer surplus and producer surplus portion. Yeah. The change of consumer surplus. Initially, the price for the consumer is P1, P0. Now, for the consumer, the price is PS. Okay? So, what is the consumer surplus? The area below the demand curve and above the equilibrium price. So, tell me, what is the change of consumer surplus here? Initially, the price was P0. Now, the price is PS.
Minus A minus B.
Yes?
Ma'am, A and B.
This is the loss, right? So tell me minus A and minus B. Minus A and minus B. Done? Okay, what about the producer? Change of producer surplus. Producer initially was receiving P0, now is receiving PS. And he can sell Q2. Okay, he can sell up to this point, remember. Very simple. Producer. The area below the price, above the supply curve. Why others are not talking? I know it's very cold, very sleepy, but you have to talk. This is something new we are discussing. So what is the change of producer surplus?
Ma'am, no change. Oh no, no change to হবে না. Ma'am,
No.
plus D plus D, ma'am.
No. Initially, the price was P0. So that was the producer surplus. Look at the pointer. This is the producer surplus before the intervention. Okay. And now producer surplus is PS to this supply curve, the simple triangle from PS.
Ma'am,
Right?
plus D plus D.
A plus B plus D.
A plus B plus D.
A
Yes,
is
ma'am.
also there, right? So simple diagram is there because now they can sell more than Q naught. That initial problem is over. So what will be the producer surplus? A. So only gain for the producer, look. A plus B plus D. Okay. Now there is a third component, that is government expenditure. Government is spending a lot. So what is the amount of government expenditure? Anyone? What is the amount of government expenditure? I told you. This total area, right? This total area. That is, it's better to write PS into, according to the diagram, into Q2. This is my Q2, huh? Q2 minus Q1. And the area is already denoted by these red lines. Okay. So this rectangle is the government expenditure. Now look, we are going to check the welfare change. Okay, fine. So what will be the change of welfare? So we have to write everything before writing. Just look that A is given by the consumer. A is given by the consumer and it is received by the producer, right? A is given by the consumer and is received by the producer. B is given by the consumer. B is received by the producer. So nothing is left from the consumer's point of view. Whatever he is given, it is received by the producer. But D is also received by the producer. Who is giving D? D is given by the government, right? D is given by the government in terms of government expenditure because D is within this area. But other than D, whatever amount is given by the government, no one is receiving it. Look, other than D, look, this is the total rectangle which is given by the government as the government expenditure. Out of this rectangle, only the D triangle is received by the producer. But what about the rest? What about the rest? No one is receiving it. So we can say the total deadweight loss in this case is this total area. Now, this total area, if you open your book, it is more clear, is like dot, 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 this type of things are there. So this total area is the deadweight loss for the society. Okay. So this total area is the deadweight loss for the society. Is it okay?
Ma'am, can you repeat the deadweight loss part?
Look, in case of this this total rectangle, how can I use the highlighter? How it is working? Oh, look, better. Color change kara there. So this is the government expenditure, right? Any doubt with that?
No, ma'am.
So this is the government expenditure. Now, out of this government expenditure portion, that D triangle is received by the producer. Okay? But what about the rest expenditure by the government? No one is receiving it. No one is receiving the rest of the government expenditure, right? Because who are the receivers in? Either producer or consumer. But they are not receiving it.
Ma'am, but B is the part of the producer surplus.
But B is given by the consumer.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
B is again given by the government, but that B is not taken by no one. Okay. So now this is the deadweight loss. Look at the yellow part. This is the deadweight loss. Okay. This total area is the deadweight loss. Maybe very uneven, but anyway, if you can understand, this is okay. This is the area of deadweight loss in case of price support program. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, what exactly happens with the deadweight loss?
Nothing. This is the loss. You are just giving, like you are throwing money in the river. It's like that. Actually, this is not like that. The black markets are coming, the intermediate persons, those who are just the intermediate, like those who is purchasing from the farmer and selling in the market. They are the middleman, which we are calling as a middleman. They are receiving it without any productive activity, just through exchange policy, just through negotiation, they are receiving it. So this is why this is not a part of the national income. Okay. Because no productive activities there. There is a strong middleman activity in case of agricultural sectors. And it is continuously written in the regular newspaper. Check, if you go through, you can check it. The agricultural farmers are always saying, we are not getting the price, the actual price of our product. Who is getting? Middleman. The middlemen are going to the farmer. They are purchasing at the very low price from the farmer and selling it at the significant price in the market to the customer. So this is the deadweight loss which is received by them actually. This is called the loss because nothing productive is done by them, but somehow they are earning it.
Ma'am, if the farm laws were introduced which said to remove the middleman, can we at this point draw a graph about it?
Mm, no, no,
I
because
might be more optimistic with my knowledge, but I don't. But this is a genuine question that I
yes,
had.
yes, 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 yes. I understand your concern. Actually, first of all, it is not possible to eliminate that middleman culture. This is something else. But other than that, if there is no middleman, then it is just like throwing money in the river. Hmm. It is given, but no one is receiving. It's like that. From the welfare perspective, this is, look, this is from the welfare, huh? It is not the 100 rupees coin, it is not the 1,000 rupees note, it's not like that. It is just the welfare. This is the loss of welfare from the government side, but no one is getting the loss of the government. It is ultimately the loss. End of the day, it is the loss.
So, ma'am, when government invests into some program or scheme, they are aware of the fact that half of their
Yes, yes,
expenditure is going in loss.
yes. They know it. Because government, in that case, government has some other objective. Because the farmers are so poor, a severe income inequality in the economy. So now they are thinking from that angle. Okay, income inequality is very strong. Other factors cannot work successfully. So that is why they are just helping them. Hmm,
But
just helping.
ultimately, won't it raise the taxes? Um, and
No,
we fall in a cycle, ma'am.
no. Tell me your question first. Let me listen it. Yeah.
Ma'am, what I was saying that they are wasting their expenditure. So,
Mhm.
in in order to in order to what is was the word like in order to get their
in order
money
to
back,
compensate that.
compensate that. Thank you. In order to compensate that, they need to
Mhm.
raise the taxes. Uh, Ma'am, I think they will raise the taxes, and we will fall in this trap of high taxes. Then we have this ultimate loss.
Yes. Look, obviously, from where to get the money? Government doesn't have the money. We, the people, are paying the tax. This is the source of the money. Basically, the government has. But here, the objective of the government is to reduce the income inequality, right? So he is taking money from us because he is thinking we are on the higher strata. So he is taking money from us in terms of tax and distribute it among the poor. Through this distribution, some money is the wastage that he knows. But his objective here is to reduce this income gap. And with this objective, he is successful.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Obviously, this is not good for those who are paying the tax. And they are sometimes irritated, right? They are sometimes saying that government is spending our money. We are earning and government is spending it. This is the net wastage. Yes, from their point of view, they are quite right. But
But ma'am, the
from,
burden is, ma'am, both the producers and consumers bear the burden. So in one way or another, it is biting the producers back, ma'am.
but in that case, producers are not getting any burden. It's the ultimate loss, that plus A plus B plus D. That was the position of the producer. So producers are getting all the benefit. Consumers are the loser. As I said, this is here government is not concerned about the consumer. Government is only concerned about the producer here. Okay. So you have to think a lot here, na? To indulge these diagrams, we have to think a lot. This is the speciality of this subject. We can think it from different angles. And in the developed country also, they're also giving price support. But in that case, maybe because of their strong infrastructure, strong implementation of the policies and all, that middleman culture is not so strong. But does it mean that it is heaven? No. All these manipulations, all these corruptions, these are still there. But anyway, we have to think from our country first, with respect to our country first. I have seen one report 7 or 8 years back, where I saw some index. When you will go through the study the next 2 years, you can understand how to create index. A lot of index are there in the economy, in the real life. So one index is created, and through this index, some economist was trying to find out the corruption level of different countries across the world. And they found Japan. You can't imagine, Japan is most corrupted country. They ranked the countries according to the corruption level. So Japan, we can't imagine, it's so laborious, it's so skilled, so innovative country, but the level of corruption is highest there according to that index. So this is how we are staying in the developing country, and we are thinking that all rest of the world, especially the developed world, is the heaven. But not true always. Anyway, so price support is okay or not?
Yes, ma'am, it is okay.
So I'm going to the next one. Production quota. This is another intervention. Production quota, tax, subsidy. Oh, so many things I have to discuss. Okay. So production quota. Production quota is what? It is the quantitative restriction. It is the quantitative restriction. Again, it is to support the producer. This is also to support the producer. Here, what the government is saying? Government is saying, look, you are producing a lot. As you are producing lot, you are supplying a lot in the market, and that is why price of your commodity is so less. So reduce the production. Create artificial crisis in the market. Then you can automatically charge higher price. So then the producers are saying, then what should be the quantity? Government has decided the quantity. Obviously, that quantity will be lesser than the equilibrium quantity. Say that quantity is Q1. Okay. Government is said to the producer that don't produce anything more than Q1. I'm not going to help you with respect to price support program, but I'm restricting your quantity. You cannot produce more than Q1. Don't go for the equilibrium quantity. So then producer has to produce at Q1, and if he is selling Q1, then automatically in the market the price is increased to that. Say it is P1. Okay, so this is how price is increased automatically. Here also government is trying to support the producer by increasing the price, but government is not in the money market in that sense. Government is not telling that that should be the price. No, here government is saying that should be the quantity. So this is how automatically the price is increased to Q1, P1. Okay, that story is clear.
Yes, ma'am, clear.
Now then we should think what will be the change, what will be its effect in the economy, the social welfare effect, what will be the deadweight loss and all. So again, let us check the change of consumer surplus, change of consumer surplus. Okay, initially the price was P0, now the price is a P1. I can't read actually, so it is P1. So what is the change? It's very similar, right? it is minus A minus B. Do you agree with it? Minus A and minus B. This is the change of consumer surplus. Is it okay to you?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because it is very similar than the earlier diagrams. What about the producer surplus? Initially, the producers are receiving P0. Now the producers are getting P1. So obviously, A is the gain. A is the gain. C is the loss because they cannot sell equilibrium quantity now. Anything else you want to say?
Ma'am, B plus D.
Oh, why D? Why B? Why D?
Ma'am, now the price is P1. So, okay, now the quantity also decreased. Oh, sorry, ma'am. Yes.
Look, you are going to the right way, but somehow you cannot go there. Look, if the price is P1, the producer can sell. Just if the price is P1, then producer can sell up to this much. But government is restricting him not to sell up to this point. According to the supply curve, producer can sell up to this quantity, right? But government is saying, no, you cannot sell it. You have to sell it this much or not before that. So producers are also the sufferer with respect to the quantity sold. They can sell this quantity, and in that case, their welfare will be A plus B plus D that will be added. But as government is asking them not to sell that much, my son is also attending the class, and he's so disturbing. Every time he's coming to me and asking so many things and that. So I am disturbed because of that. Anyway, I'm very sorry. So look, what is happening? If the price is PS and it is the free market, if the price is P1 and it is the free market, then then the producer can sell this quantity. Do you agree with it?
Yes,
If
ma'am,
the
I did.
one, then government can sell this quantity. Sorry, producer can sell this quantity, but government is saying no, that you cannot. You cannot go beyond this Q, that quota quantity. Fine. So that B and D, which should be the producer surplus, now producers cannot get that B and D because of that restriction. If there is no restriction, B and D, that will be the part of the producer surplus if price is P1. But as government is saying you cannot sell more than the quota quantity, so that B and D, this is also the loss of the producer. Okay, so let me write B. Is it okay?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes. Understood.
So look at the loss of the producer, B, C, D. And look at the loss of the consumer, A and B. So that if you change, if you look at the welfare loss, so that A is given by the consumer and it is received by the producer. So A part is solved. But what about B, C? Again that B and D. So what will be the net welfare loss? 2B. One B is given by the consumer, another B is given by the producer. Then C. And then D. Okay. So look at the amount of loss through the production quota. Significant loss is there. So up to this point, it should be clear to all of us that for any type of intervention, deadweight loss is there. Social welfare is not at its best position for any type of intervention. There will be some amount of sacrifice in terms of welfare. So is this okay? The production quota portion?
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, can you please repeat in the producer surplus part why we subtract B and D?
Yes. Because if there is no such quantitative restriction at the price P1, producer can sell according to its supply curve, right? If there is no quantitative restriction and the price is P1, then producer can sell this quantity. But government is saying, no, you cannot sell that. Whatever be the price, you can sell only this quantity. Okay. So in that respect, producers are also sacrificing B and D part of their welfare.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that is why minus B and minus D. As it is the sacrifice to minus.
Okay, ma'am.
So this is the effect of deadweight loss. Look at the amount of deadweight loss. A significant. Now look, tax. So tax is there. We know how the tax is working and all. Now, for the consumer, any type of tax, again I am repeating, for any type of tax, that is the tax on consumer or tax on producer, ultimately the effect on both of them will be same. The burden will be same for both of them. So in that case, if this is the tax rate, then consumer is paying this price now and producer is receiving this price now. Initially, for both of them, the price was the equilibrium price. So as for the consumer, the price is higher than before. So for the consumer, let me write. For the consumer, the change of consumer surplus is, consumer is paying higher price, so he is the loser, right? So what is the amount of loss? What is the amount of social welfare loss for the consumer? Minus A, minus B. Okay. And what about the producer? Producer is also the loser because he is receiving lesser price than before. Okay. So the change of producer surplus is, if you have any doubt, whatever I am writing, please stop me and ask. Minus D minus C. Any doubt with that? Any doubt with this 4 areas A, B, C, D?
Ma'am, is it B which is the right hand side of A? I can't
Yes,
see.
yes, it is B. A, B, C,
Okay.
D. So B and C, these are two triangles. And B, A and D, these are two rectangles. Okay. B and C, these are two
Yes,
triangles.
ma'am. Clear.
Achha. So these are the change of consumer and producer. Look, both are the sufferer. No one is receiving anything. Now, who is receiving then? Government is receiving. So what is the government revenue? Yes. So government revenue. This is my G. Yeah, this is my G. Government revenue. Because government is imposing tax now, so there should be tax revenue. What is the tax revenue? That rectangle A and D. So A and D. Okay. This is the government revenue. Any doubt with the government revenue? Because this is the tax. Okay. Look, this is the tax rate, and this is the quantity sold. So tax rate means per unit of quantity sold, you have to pay this tax. And what is the total quantity sold? This. So the total tax revenue will be quantity into tax rate. So this area of this total rectangle, that is A plus D. Any doubt with it?
Ma'am,
Yes.
here the tax is paid both by the consumer and the producers both.
That is the distribution of the burden of tax. Okay.
So ma'am, uh, so ma'am, the net tax becomes the tax paid by both the parties, which is A plus D.
Hmm.
Okay, ma'am.
So look, that A part is given by the consumer, D part is given by the producer. Now, this is the distribution of the burden of tax. So, what will be the deadweight loss? That is the change of welfare. What will be the deadweight loss? There's two triangles because A is given by the consumer and it is received by the government. D is given by the producer and it is received by the government. But that B and C, these are given by either consumer or producer, but it is received by none. So the deadweight loss is B and C. That means these two triangles, B and C. This is the net welfare loss, this total triangle. Okay, this is the net welfare loss in case of tax. Clear?
Ma'am, can you please repeat it, deadweight loss part?
Hmm. Because B is given by the consumer. Okay. C is given by the producer. But who is receiving? No one. So that is why B and C, these are the the deadweight loss.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
So I'm going to the next one. Subsidy. I think this is the last. Yes. Subsidy. For subsidy, how it is affecting the welfare. Again, we are going to check. So look, how much we did today. Minimum price, price support, production quota, tax, and now subsidy. So many interventions. Look, initially, the subsidy means just opposite of the tax, right? So here subsidy is given to the consumer, basically, or either to the producer, whatever, the same thing. If the subsidy is given to the, let me draw, if subsidy is given to the consumer, then his supply curve will shift like this. If subsidy, that like increase in demand. Similarly, if subsidy is given to the producer, then to the producer, the supply will increase, so it will be like this. So ultimately, just like the tax, the effect will be same. The benefit of the subsidy, that is also distributed between producer and consumer, like the tax. In case of tax, it is the burden. In case of producer, in case of subsidy, it is the benefit. Okay, but it is distributed between the both sides. Anyway, if the subsidy is given, then initially the price was P naught. Now the price for the consumer is this. And the price for the producer is this. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Because the price corresponding to the demand curve and the price corresponding to the supply curve. So look, the consumer is getting benefit of the subsidy because for him the price is reduced. Producer is getting benefit of the subsidy because for him price is increased. Okay, so this is how they are getting their own benefit through subsidy. Done. Now, what is the effect of the social welfare through this subsidy? Change of,
Ma'am, can you repeat that part, that which is the price of for the consumer and the producer?
yes, the price below the equilibrium price. This is the price for consumer after subsidy. And the price above the equilibrium price is the price for the producer after subsidy. The price corresponding to the supply curve and the price corresponding to the demand curve. Look, this is the amount of subsidy.
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm? Now the change of consumer surplus. Again, the area below, I have to write. এখানে না ওগুলো লেখা নেই। দাঁড়াও। A, B, I don't know whether these are all needed or not. Let me write তো আগে তো লিখে ফেলি। T, E, F. Okay. So what is the change of consumer surplus? Consumers are giving lesser price than before. So obviously this is the benefit for the consumer. And what is the amount of benefit? I'm writing. Just check if you have any query. Initially the price was P naught. Now the price is below that P naught. So A, B, C. Any doubt with consumer surplus change? Any doubt with the change of consumer surplus? Anyone?
No, ma'am.
Now the producer surplus. Change of producer surplus. Initially the price was P naught for the producer. Now the producers are also receiving price more than P naught. Okay. So for the producer, it is the gain. The price is increased. So the gain is D and E. Okay. Now look, any problem with D and E? Producer
No,
surplus?
ma'am.
Okay. Now look, the subsidy. Subsidy is given by the government, right? So the subsidy rate is the gap, the vertical distance between this demand and supply curve, that S, which is written over here. So this is the subsidy rate. And on how much of quantity the subsidy is given? Q1. So the total subsidy expenditure by the government, or I can write it as a government expenditure, as the subsidy is given by the government to the economy. So the government expenditure, is A plus B plus C plus D plus E কি হচ্ছে plus F. Okay, any doubt with the area of the government expenditure?
Yes, ma'am. Please repeat it once.
Yes, just a minute. দাঁড়াও আগে তো ইটা লিখি। So the government expenditure is, now look at my pointer. The government expenditure, look, this is the subsidy rate. That means per unit of the quantity in the market, government is giving that much of subsidy. Now what is the total quantity sold ultimately? Q1. This is the total quantity sold. So Q1 into small s, right? So this is the total amount of subsidy expenditure by the government. Is it okay? This is the total amount.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So this is, so I can say this is given by the government to the economy. So what is the area? The total, whatever I have written, A, B, C, D, E, F. This is the total expenditure by the government. So it is given by the government to the market. Okay. Now, out of these thing, A, okay, let me write it again. Like as it is the expenditure, there should be a minus sign. This is given, so minus. So minus A, minus B, minus C, minus D, minus E, and minus F. Now that A is received by the consumer, which is actually given by the government. Okay, so A is cancelled out. B and C, these are also received by the consumer and it is given by the government. Done. Now D and E, these are received by the producer and it is given by the government. But what about F? F is also given by the government, but no one is receiving it. So change of welfare or the deadweight loss is minus F. Is it okay? So this triangle is the deadweight loss in case of subsidy. This triangle is the deadweight loss in case of subsidy. Okay, any doubt? Any doubt, anyone?
No, ma'am, clear.
Sure. So this is all about the perfectly competitive market with government intervention and all. So today we have finished the discussion portion of SEM 3 microeconomics. I have another class tomorrow. There I will discuss the questions from the university question paper on perfectly competitive market. Okay, so in this way we can finish it before, I think, from the next week, 23rd, I think so. I'm not sure, but maybe from 23rd or 22. Actually, I'm not sure, but anyway, I think by next week I will not get any chance to take your class because I have the class on Wednesday, and whatever be the date, you will get your Christmas vacation, Christmas break. I will not get any other class in the next week. So in that case, tomorrow is the last class in 2021, and there I will discuss the questions from perfectly competitive market structure. So this is how it is finished. It will be finished at least once. And in January, if we have a timetable that if you have some allotted class with SEM 3, there we will revise. Okay, so there we will revise and we will discuss how I am going to take the topic distribution for the internal tutorial exam and all. Okay, so these classes are for that. Tomorrow I will discuss the questions from perfectly market structure. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, for the unit, last unit, is the Pindiak our reference or anything else?
Yes. Pindai.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, another thing, ma'am, is Madla and Miller is available in our departmental library?
Yes, one copy is there.
Okay, ma'am.
If
Okay.
it is not received by anyone else, only one copy is there.
Ma'am, still it is available because ma'am asked us to, we can go tomorrow to access our departmental library, 5 persons only. Then I just asked you.
Go there. Check how many books you have
Okay.
in the class library. It was not only Madla, so many other micro books are there. If you are interested about that, you can take any of them.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
What will be
Ma'am,
the time?
Ma'am, are you saying anything?
Yes. I'm asking what is the time that you are going there
ম্যাম
tomorrow?
ম্যাম বললেন যে উনি কালকে কলেজে আসবেন, থাকবেন আর কি। আপনার ক্লাসের পরে তাহলে যাব, 11:30টায় শেষ হবার পরে।
আচ্ছা, কারণ 11:30টায় ক্লাস শেষ হওয়ার পরে আমিও যাব। তাহলে আমি
ও
কোনোদিন সেন্ট্রিকে দেখিনি।
হ্যাঁ
তো
ম্যাম, খুব ভালো হবে, দেখা হবে। ম্যাম কালকে আমাদের মানে আজকে আমাদের আগের বছর এই দিনেই কলেজ স্টার্ট হয়েছিল, ফার্স্ট ডে ছিল 16 ডিসেম্বর।
আচ্ছা, 1 বছর শেষ হয়ে গেল তোমাদের, তাই
হ্যাঁ
তো?
ম্যাম।
কিভাবে শেষ হয়ে গেল? Anyway, hopefully by next year you will get your offline class.